Hey there guys, this is Flamsaron, aka YouTube's Tasuke. I recently finished the Buu Saga of Kai, also known as Dragon Ball Z Kai The Final Chapters, and I'm actually going to refer to it as that um, in this video as much as I can remember to, just because saying the Buu Saga of Kai over and over is going to get kind of tiresome. But I recently finished it because I was watching it in Japanese with subtitles, fan subs specifically, I'll go ahead and say that, because I wanted to sort of finish off the entirety of Kai in the same way that I started it, which was also fan subs back when that was a thing in like 2009. I actually learned a little bit about the this and Super kind of taught me a little bit about the fan sub efforts and community of Dragon Ball, but I'll get into that as we continue onward. But yeah, I watched all of Dragon Ball Z Kai The Final Chapters, also known as the Buu Saga of Kai, as you can see in this picture. And like I said, I did watch fan subs, and the reason why I did that was because with in regards to the first part of Kai, when it was starting up, I kind of wanted to have a quote unquote modern anime watching experience with Kai, since Dragon Ball was like my first big anime that I got into, and so I kind of wanted to sort of like treat it in a bit more of a more for what it was, and I kind of wanted to watch it in a quote unquote more. I say quote unquote just because I feel like this isn't entirely true anymore because we have things like Crunchyroll now. So fan subs, in my personal opinion, there are people fan subbing, but for the most part, you can find what you're looking for with official legal subtitles on like Crunchyroll and now Anime Strike with Amazon and whatnot. And actually, as I am recording this, Dragon Ball Z Kai The Final Chapters has been airing on Toonami in English with an English dub alongside Super, which I think we all knew that even though Super was like the big hotness, I think we all knew that Funimation had all of the final chapters dubbed, especially considering what kind of production this went into. Because for those of you who don't know, Dragon Ball Z Kai The Final Chapters, or as I call it, the Buu Saga of Kai, or as it's known in Japan, just Dragon Ball Kai. It's literally just another part of Kai. It was originally made for the international audiences, and Japan kind of got. I don't know if they got it after the international territories that it was released to had already run through the series. It wasn't really that long. It was only like 60 something episodes, as opposed to the first part's 98, bringing the entire total to I think like 159. So if anyone wants to do like some quick math, feel free to, because I hate math. But Toei actually produced Dragon Ball Z Kai The Final Chapters, which that's also its title internationally as well, not just in North America. It's also I think depending on where you look, some places will call it The Final Chapters, and some people will call it The Final Chapter. I think in North America it's just The Final Chapter, or I'd have to look again. I know the first part of the series came out like the first like part 1, because they're doing 3 parts. I don't know if they're going to be doing a season set and calling it like season 5. I hope they do, because that's how I have Kai. I have the seasons. I also have the first volume of the first part of Kai, but in terms of my general collection, I have the season sets, and I would prefer to have a season set for the final chapters, because I feel like it's probably going to be 1, maybe 2 DVDs, individual like sets, just because it's not that long. And heck, if they're able to pump out the entire final chapters in 3 individual volumes, then or parts. But yeah, to get back on track, Toei produced the final chapters, primarily for the international market. One of the indicators of what version you're watching, probably the biggest one, is the opening themes, because in the international version, including in North America, it's song sung in English called "Fight It Out," and it's like "Fight it out, fight it out, do 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 do, wow wow wow," and I think the ending theme is called like "Don't Give Up." I think also sung in English. Um, Both of them are sung by I assume Japanese singers, but they're sung in English. Um, Whereas in the Japanese version, they got the guy who did Dragon Soul for the first part of the guy. You'll have to forgive me. I don't remember his name. I think it's like Tadayoshi something. But they got him back to do a song called Kuzen Zetsu Go, which I actually kind of prefer over Fight It Out. Though the funny thing is, in the episode title, as well as in the eye catch, even in the Japanese version, they use sort of like an instrumental version of Fight It Out, which I find kind of funny. Though the episode preview, or like the next episode preview in the Japanese version, they also use Kuzen Zetsu Go. I haven't seen any other sort of like I don't know how they handle it in the international version. I assume they probably use some sort of like version of Fight It Out. In fact, I've noticed that like because I've been watching the dub episodes a little bit on TV, because it's usually when we record the podcast, so I don't really have time to just kind of like sit down and just listen to it and watch it. But I've seen a little bit, and for the episode recap, they use a version of Fight It Out, which wasn't in the Japanese version. But that's like the main difference. And of course, the Japanese version, they have kind of like what Super's been doing lately. They have several different ending themes that play at like certain points in the story. A lot more than what the first part of Kai had, because the first part of Kai only had two, Yeah Break, Care Break, and Kokoro no Hane, I believe it's called. Whereas the final chapters has like several. The first one being called Dear Zarathustra by the band, I think they're called Good Morning America. I think they also did the first ending to Super, I believe. Hello, hello, hello. I think. Don't quote me on that. And I'm recording this at like 3 a.m, so I might be a little loopy. But the other difference between the international version and the Japanese version is the episode count. Apparently, the international version had more episodes to it, so it brings up the number a little bit. And the funny thing is, these episodes were also recorded in Japanese. With the DVDs, they are going to have the Japanese audio with English subtitles as well. So if you want to kind of have like if you're like me and you watch the Japanese version and you want to have sort of a more complete experience and watch the episodes that weren't included with the Japanese version, then getting the DVDs or the Blu-ray, they're doing it as a DVD or a Blu-ray. They're not doing a DVD Blu-ray combo, which I actually kind of appreciate. They're actually mimicking the release of the first part of Kai pretty well. Even the design of the package looks pretty good as well. But like I said, I'm waiting until season set to be announced before I pick it up for myself, because I am going to buy it for my collection as well, and also so I could watch the English dub in full. Depending on how the part sets are, like how their packaging is, I may pick those up instead. Because again, it's just like 3 DVDs. But anywho, yeah. Other than that, both versions are pretty similar. It uses the same footage as from Z for the remastering. They touch it up and make it look all pretty. It looks a little overly saturated. It has sort of like this weird sort of like green, sort of like limey sort of texture to it. Both versions have this, as far as I could tell. It still looks pretty okay. It actually kind of reminds me of like the subtapes days, because I remember the quality being kind of saturated back then as well. It was definitely a nice little treat watching the episodes that I had on subtapes with new audio and whatnot. And also, in terms of the aspect ratio, from what I understand, I don't think the first part of Kai was like an anamorphic widescreen or anything. I think like depending on what version you had, they altered. Like the DVD version was like 4:3, and I think the the Blu-ray was widescreen. I think didn't they like redraw the background or something, like add it to the background or something? Because I remember they were able to make it widescreen without cropping it, or I don't know if that was just the TV broadcast or something. And I think the Japanese release of the DVDs were different as well. But for the final chapters, the entire thing is just in the cropped widescreen. You know, kind of like how you would make it look if you wanted to like put the your favorite episode of Dragon Ball Z in widescreen, like Windows Movie Maker or something. Kind of like the Funimation's Orange Brick sets as well as their Blu-rays. It didn't really bother me as much as I thought it would. I don't know if I was just kind of used to it at that point or not, but it didn't really bother me too much. It didn't really like affect me too much that like, oh, Goku's hair is like suddenly cropped off at the top. I believe Toei themselves did the touching up of the footage, because I remember for the first part of Kai they actually got someone else to do it. Again, don't quote. I don't have like all the details of like the production. I'm just going based off of what I've read and what I remember. But enough about the actual production and behind the scenes stuff. Why don't we get to the actual content of the friggin' thing? So, since the English dub of the final chapters is airing on Toonami, and also just for the sake of anyone who hasn't actually seen the original, I won't go into too much details. It's not going to be like my super reviews where I'm literally recapping it episode by episode, but I'll do what I can to sort of just briefly summarize without saying too much. In fact, I think I'm just going to kind of hit like certain notes here. Basically, it takes place 7 years after the fight with Cell. Another difference is that in the Japanese version, the recap of Gohan's fight with Cell is a lot shorter, whereas in the English version, the international version, I assume the international version, I don't know if North America specifically got any special treatment in this regard, but it has like a longer recap of that fight with Cell, and they have like a voiceover dialogue as well. Like it's not just the narrator talking and talking over scenes and whatnot with like music in the background. They actually play some scenes. If you look on the cast list of the announcement for the final chapters, they'll like list like Cell and other stuff from like the first part, like Android 16. Like, wait a second, they're not in this. They're from the previous arc. But yeah, so it takes place 7 years after they defeated Cell. Gohan's in high school now. He's a high school freshman. He's going to high school, and he meets a girl named Videl who more or less bribes him into, or blackmails him into taking part in the World Martial Arts Tournament, because Gohan, he beat up some thugs by going Super Saiyan on like the day, like on his first day of school, and he wants to sort of like protect the city while also being a regular student. Like he wants to kind of keep things under wraps, that like, hey, I'm really strong and stuff. So he has Bulma make him a cool little suit, and he goes by the Great Saiyaman, or Great Saiyaman. I kind of go back and forth. I remember for a time, if you watch some of my older Dragon Ball videos, I would call him Great Saiyaman, but Saiyaman, that's who I'm talking about. And Videl figures things out, and she's like, yo, dog, you need to take part in this tournament, or I'm going to tell everyone your fucking secret. And he's like, no, don't do that. And so he's like, okay, I'll tell all my friends then. And also Goku overhears this in other world. He's like, hey, I have a free day to hang out with you guys. I'm going to take part in the tournament too. He's like, sweet. And then he's like, okay, well, now I have to enter too. Hey, Trunks, you enter too. Okay. And then then Gohan's all like, hey, Goten, you should enter too. Okay. Hey, Piccolo, you enter. Okay. Hey, Krillin, you enter. Okay. Hey, Android 18, who's now married to Krillin and has a kid, you enter. Okay. Yeah, super brief. And then they go to the tournament. They see some people there. They meet some guy named Shin and his friend Kibito. And they're like, yo, dog, I'm a big fan of you, Goku. Let's hang out. Yeah, let's hang out. Maybe later, though, because we have this tournament. Okay. Piccolo's like, holy fuck, this guy's really crazy. He seems kind of cool and shit, but I'm kind of scared of him. Hey, Piccolo, I can read your mind. This is Shin. Oh, shit. you're cool. Are you the Grand Kai? No, I'm the Supreme Kai. Holy fuck, what's the Supreme Kai? And basically, these other thugs, Spopovich and Yamu, both of them are bald guys who are looking really veiny and sort of muscular, and they both have this weird M on their head. Not really sure what that's. Of course, I know what that is, but and then Kibito during his match with Gohan, because he's paired up with him, he's like, "Hey, Gohan, go Super Saiyan." He's like, "Okay, I went Super Saiyan. I can go Super Saiyan 2 though. Oh, okay, do that too. Okay, Super Saiyan 2. All right, let's fight." Oh no! And then like Yamu and Spopovich, they come out and they grab him and they steal his energy and they fly off. And then Supreme Kai and Goku and everyone, they go off. And it's all like, hey, so it turns out that those guys might be working for a guy named Babidi, and he's trying to resurrect this old magical demon genie thing called Majin Buu. And he's going to kill everything, and we need your help to prevent that. It's like, okay. And so they go over there and they go through Babidi's spaceship, and I'm leaving some stuff out, obviously, but basically, as you can probably guess, Majin Buu gets revived. They fight Majin Buu. They defeat Majin Buu. And bam. That's a super, super summarized version of the story. Obviously, I'm leaving out stuff like the fusion and probably one of my favorite parts, Majin Vegeta, Krillin and Piccolo getting spat on, then turned to stone. The Potara fusion, Majin Buu absorbing himself and turning stronger, and then absorbing Piccolo and Gotenks, and then Gohan and getting really strong, then Goku and Vegeta going inside. Yeah. This is definitely an old story. I didn't want to summarize too much, though, just because I know that there may be some people who are watching Kai, who are watching Dragon Ball for, like, the first time. Maybe. This isn't the same thing like Dragon Ball Z Kai, the first part of Kai's initial North American broadcast, where there was the Nicktoons version that was a little less edited, but it was edited. But then there was the WB Toonsai version that was like super edited. Here it's only on like Adult Swim, and it's full like and it's full uncut glory. You're gonna hear Vegeta call somebody a bastard. You're gonna hear Goku call somebody a bastard. I don't think they're gonna have Gohan called Super Buu a retard, just because of, that's not really appropriate in this day and age. Though in the fan subs that I watched, he did refer to Super Buu as a retard, and I think that's also in the Dragon Box. He's probably gonna have to call him a freak. I think, you freak, because the whole point of that scene is that Gohan is saying something a little off color that's kind of out of character for him, because of his newly found powers that he gets from the Elder Kai, where he unlocks his potential, and that sort of thing. But yeah, so if you know the story of Dragon Ball Z, you already know how this story goes. Again, only sparing some of the details besides everything else that I just spoiled. For those who maybe are watching Dragon Ball for the first time, or Dragon Ball Z for the first time, I don't think there are too many people who follow me who haven't seen Dragon Ball Z before. But I'm also going unscripted, so obviously my review isn't going to be as perfect as it could be, but I'm doing my best. But anyway, onto the actual content of the show itself. Kai's big thing was that it took out, like, their big, like, Mark was like, all of Dragon Ball in its purest form without the filler, which up until now had been true, and even now it's still decently true, although there's a fair amount of filler still present in the final chapters. Namely, the stuff that I noticed was, besides, like, some of the Great Sandman stuff that's in the international version, from what I saw in the Japanese version, it was mainly Majin Buu, like, destroying cities, because, obviously that stuff he did, but I don't remember that being shown specifically in the manga, like him destroying specific cities. I think that's something that it was more implied. Or it was shown, like, when Babidi was like, "Hey, Majin Buu, show them what's going to happen if they don't comply with us." Okay, that kind of thing. And also near the end, they had some filler content as well. Namely, this one I think was actually probably an okay choice. It's when Goku is fighting Kid Buu, the final version of Majin Buu, because in the manga he goes straight to Super Saiyan 3. whereas in the anime version he starts off as a regular Super Saiyan and they fight for a little bit and then he goes Super Saiyan 3. I think that was fine to keep it that way. That would have been too much of a pain to edit. And unlike the first part of Kai, the final chapters doesn't have any reanimated scenes. It's all just the same footage, with newly recorded voiceover so that it sounds really clear, as well as a new score by Norihito Sumitomo, the guy who did Battle of Gods and Resurrection F and is also doing Super, which I'll get to the score in a minute. The music is what I mean by the score. But yeah, that scene, although it's more altered, I'd say, I guess you could maybe call it filler, just because if you were to take out the part with Goku being a regular Super Saiyan while fighting Kid Buu, then it would be regular. But then there's also the scene where they're showing Hell or HFIL or whatever, or like the bottom of Snake Way, whatever you want to call it. And they're showing all the villains watching the fight, and Frieza's all like, "Oh fuck Goku," and Cell's like, "Oh man, that guy's pretty tough." And then Bobby's like, "Oh, that's Majin Buu. Blah, 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 blah. He's really cool and shit." And then like he goes behind the rock and he's like, "Fuck you, Majin Buu." They show that. I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the manga either, and not to mention that's a bit of inconsistency with the story, because in the manga, the whole ogre thing and like the falling off the Snake Way thing, I'm pretty sure that's not in the manga. So the only real depiction of Hell canonically we have in the story is through Resurrection F. Plus, not to mention, in that movie, as well as in Super, we're shown Frieza having his like cyber body, whereas in this scene, as well as in the Otherworld tournament filler and the regular Z, Frieza is shown having his regular body. So again, inconsistencies there, but so whatever. Also, the thing with I'm also pretty sure. Actually, I checked this as well because I was looking into the manga when this happened. But the scene where they also have the scene where Kid Buu goes to the Grand Kai's world and starts beating up on Yamcha and Krillin. That's also filler. So this bad boy has a fair amount more filler than the first part of Kai, as far as I could tell. They did cut back on some stuff. Obviously, like I said, as far as the Japanese version is concerned, since they excluded some episodes, like in between, like the first episode and I guess like the tournament, the pacing's a little quicker, and also the scene where Goku and Vegeta are inside Majin Buu. They don't have like they don't have any the filler of them looking for Gohan and the gang. They go straight to like, "Hey, we're inside Majin Buu. Oh, hey, look, our friends are here," which I appreciated because I wasn't really interested in that filler anyway. Other than that, I can't think of any other stuff that's like really notable. I'd have to like look again. In terms of my of the script and the translation and whatnot, since I had already read the entire manga by the time I started the Buu Saga of Kai, I was already more familiar with the more accurate script. I'm personally of the mindset that Funimation's dub of the original Majin Buu arc actually was pretty decent. I know a lot of hardcore Dragon Ball fans seem to hate or some of them dislike Funimation's first attempt with Dragon Ball Z. I'm of the mindset that okay, yeah, Frieza stuff, Ginyu stuff and Frieza stuff, probably not that good. Garlic Jr., I don't even remember. Android stuff, better, but then like the Majin Buu stuff is where it kind of got like at its height for what it was, I guess, maybe. And so, but even with that, like obviously there were some script differences that I definitely noticed when I read the manga, and it was sort of like that, oh wow, this is really a different kind of mentality. Though because by the time I started the final chapters, started watching it, I had already read the entire manga. The script differences in comparison to this and the English dub, it it didn't really shock me that much because I already kind of knew it had been a while since I had read the manga in its entirety, so like I didn't have like every little detail, but like I still have all this. I still had like the general idea of what it would sound like. Like for example, when the Supreme Kai thinks that like they've successfully prevented Majin Buu's resurrection. In the English dub, Supreme Kai is all like, we are victorious, we have won, Gohan, da 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 da. Whereas in the Japanese version, he's still sort of like boasting that he thinks they won, but he's also a bit more, what's the word? Like, I guess I'll just tell you what it is, that he's all like, yes, we've won, now is the time, Gohan, let loose of your anger, that kind of thing. Like, he's still sort of like boasting that like, yeah, we won, but he's also saying let's finish the job kind of thing. I imagine in the English dub of the final chapters, they probably are going to go that route. From what I've seen of the English dub, I feel like the Majin Buu arc needed a redub the least out of the entire series. I can definitely see where some characters sound better now than they did then. So I definitely appreciate Kai's modern sort of take on everything, and sort of like the voice actors who have been playing these characters for so long, and they have a better sense of how these characters sounds. Like I think Goku sounds really good now. Vegeta I think sounds really cool now and whatnot. It's still like the Kai cast, so like Meredith McCoy, even though she returned for Android 18 in Battle of Gods and Resurrection F and in Super, she's not in the final chapters. It's still Colleen Clinkenbeard. As far as I know, that's the only. I don't know any other of the recasts. I don't think. Laura Bailey did return for Trunks, even though Alexis Tipton took over for Super. Again, they recorded this like probably around the time when everyone else was recording it in their respective language for the international release, and they were just maybe waiting, or possibly Funimation maybe recorded it a little bit after, because I'm thinking because of how they do things, they were probably thinking, well, do we want to just dub the Japanese version, or do we want to dub this international version that's been given to us? Which is kind of cool how Dragon Ball's kind of turned into sort of a big enough franchise to where, like, for the international release, we're getting, like, customly made content for it. I think that's kind of cool. And that sort of thing. I don't think there's any other series that you can really maybe say that. I don't know, maybe Batman for Japan. I don't know. I can't really say. And even then, like, it's not like it's exclusive to Dragon Ball, because it's not like anime has never gotten like an English dub theme song before. Heck, I was just watching Yu Yu Hakusho, so because I got the Blu-rays. But yeah, honestly, I enjoyed the final chapters, and I'm probably gonna watch as much as I can of the dub as well, especially the Majin Vegeta stuff. Again, I feel like the Majin Buu arc probably needed a redub the least, maybe a rescripting. And I think some of the voice actors have really improved with their characters, so maybe they could use a redub. But I honestly think that it was a lot better than certain fans will probably give it credit for. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I enjoyed it. The music was definitely a little jarring at first, just because it seemed more like something you would expect from like the dub fans. It was more electronic, and it kind of had a bit of a 90s sort of sound to it. I wonder if that's sort of what they were going for it. I know certain people have been saying like, oh, it's just the Battle of Gods music being reused here. Oh, the laziness. First of all, no. Like, that's just telling me that people don't really listen enough. I only noticed 2 songs from the Battle of Gods score being used in this broadcast. One, when Gohan was trying to teach Videl how to fly and like key control and whatnot, they did the down 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 down. They did that song. And then when Supreme Kai was making the kachin or the clang out or whatever you want to call it, the hardest metal in the world. Um, they did the song that played when Goku went Super Saiyan 3 when right before he fought Beerus, where it's like the like it was like sort of like a little jingle. Everything else was original. In fact, I've noticed Super has been reusing some of the songs from the final chapters soundtrack, which I think is kind of funny. I don't care. Like, dude, it's like, and I don't mean I mean dude is like the general dudes. I guess I should say dudes, people. It's not just reused music. Like, Sumitomo did make like original music for this. He, as far as I could tell, he only used those two songs from Battle of Gods. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, from what I remember, only those two. Super actually uses a lot more from this than this uses from Battle of Gods, in my opinion. And again, who cares? Like, why does that matter? Kikuchi did the exact same thing, and even then, like, he would just take like the same melody and like remix it. Like, if we're gonna talk about cheating with music, why don't we look elsewhere? And I don't even want to get into the whole Yamamoto thing, but I like the music. My favorite one was probably the I think it's called Shenlong or Shenron Arises or something, but it plays when Majin Vegeta is having sort of like his when he's about to like self-destruct and attempt to kill Majin Buu. It's like this sort of like very mystical kind of sound to it. I really like that sound. And the song that plays when Goku goes Super Saiyan 3, that was actually, I think it's a pretty cool song. And I think it's actually a lot better than the original Japanese version. And I feel like it kind of captures sort of what that transformation is kind of trying to do. Because I feel like a lot of hardcore fans' approach to going Super Saiyan is that it's supposed to be kind of scary from the audience perspective, like, oh, what's going on? What's going to happen? Whereas I feel like Super Saiyan 3, it's more like, hey, let me show you this cool thing that I've learned. That kind of thing. And the music that they play in the final chapters is like a dun, 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 dun. It's something like that. And I feel like that was actually a very good choice. I'm of course partial to the Bruce Falconer, like that's freaking cool. And the song from Ultimate Battle 22 was pretty cool that Kenji Yamamoto did. That was a cool song. But in my opinion, I feel like the Super Saiyan 3 transformation doesn't need a friggin' song to show you how terrifying the transformation is. It needs a song to show you how cool and how awesome the transformation is. Because it's Goku showing the results of his training, not him being pushed to, not him sort of like reaching, well, you know what I mean. But in the Japanese version, there were a couple recasts as far as I know. The original narrator, Joji Yamane, he's still the narrator and he's also still King Kai. He was replaced for Babidi. Instead, it's Ben Shimada who voices Broly. I actually think he did a great job as Babidi. He sounds more like what I would expect from Babidi, and of course that's coming from the perspective of a dub fan who's used to hearing how Babidi sounds in English. Also, Videl, in the original Japanese version, she was voiced by Yuko Minaguchi, who of course is Farah in Tales of Eternia, but she's been Videl for like the longest time, and she came back as Videl for I believe I think she came back for, I don't think she came back for Battle of Gods. I think she came back for Super. But instead, it's a new actress, Shino Kakinuma, who I believe is Piccolo's voice actor, Toshio Furukawa's wife. She came in for Videl. She sounds a little different than Yuko Minaguchi, but she also sounds a little similar. I believe she filled in because Yuko Minaguchi was studying abroad, like in New York, I believe, going to college and whatnot. But Also, Unsho Ishizuka returns also for Hercule. Of course, he's going to be Hercule for the remainder of the series. But other than that, as far as I know, there aren't any more recasts. Not any that I would know offhand. I'm sure there are probably some recasts of like minor characters and whatnot. I think Oob was also the same because I remember I watched that final episode of Dragon Ball Z in Japanese recently, and to me they sounded pretty similar. Let's see. I think obviously Majin Buu, they got him back. I had seen also the quote unquote Buu Tanks episode, so I kind of knew how Majin Buu was going to sound when he made that form, because obviously, up until that point, Majin Buu had the way he talks is a bit more archaic and a little childish, whereas after absorbing Piccolo and Gotenks, he has a bit more intelligent speech. I actually think he sounds kind of cool. He kind of retains that when he goes back to Super Buu when Goku and Vegeta are fighting him inside his own body. So it's kind of interesting how that works. But other than that, I can't really think of any other characters who may have been recast. Again, I don't know. Someone can correct me in the comments if you'd like. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the music as well, and the theme songs I liked. My favorite ending theme was probably Junjo, sung by a female, and the video shows a Goku flying over and he's fighting Majin Vegeta. And I really like that one. I don't know if it's just because I remembered hearing that one a lot. I kind of watched the final chapters in sections. I recently finished it a couple of nights ago, as of I'm recording this, which is the 26th. I don't know when this is going to go up. Probably at some point after, maybe, I don't know, maybe in a couple of days. But I actually started late, cause I don't know why I started late. I think mainly just I wanted to sort of, I don't know why I started late, but it always felt for me kind of weird watching Super without finishing Kai. So I'm actually glad that I finally finished this Kai, because now I finished the first part and this, so I've completed all of Kai, and of course I wanted to watch it in Japanese as well, to kind of complete that experience as well. So I feel like I've kind of come full circle. I did the same thing with Strawberry Panic, because I first watched it on YouTube using fan dubs, and when I finally decided to go back and watch it my sophomore year of high school, I sought out YouTube fan subs. Of course now I have the DVD, so it doesn't really matter, but I'm definitely going to pick up the DVD as well, so I can watch the English dub in full and add it to my collection. As well as Super, because Super, that English dub has been going, and that DVD set's supposed to be coming out pretty soon as well. I think in July, so I guess technically not soon. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it to people who, especially to people who have never seen Dragon Ball Z before and maybe started with Kai. I think this would maybe be a good one to maybe watch if you just want that same kind of experience. I mean, if you're just watching Dragon Ball Z in Japanese, then there you go. You can just do that. But if you're also kind of like me, to where you appreciate and remember and enjoyed the old dub, but you also like sort of what Funimation has been doing with the series lately in terms of their English dub quality, then this is definitely something good to watch. Or if you just want to watch the Japanese version without hearing muffled audio, then this is also pretty good to watch. Basically, if you like Dragon Ball, of course, to me that's like saying, do I recommend the latest Tales game? Obviously, yes, I do. The same with Dragon Ball, I recommend it. But yeah, I think that's more or less it. I enjoyed it. I like the music, despite everyone saying that it's just rehashed from Battle of Gods. Those people are wrong, mostly at least. The visuals didn't bother me too much. It does look a little more saturated than the first. Honestly, the first part of Kai looks really clean in terms of remastering the footage. It looks pretty decent. It's not the clearest, but I enjoyed the theme songs. I enjoyed it. Just overall a good time. I mean, again, coming from me, that probably doesn't mean much, because obviously anything Dragon Ball I'm going to enjoy, but yeah. Oh, I never told my thingy about the fan sub community because, like I said before, I was watching this fan subbed, and it started with one group, but then they stopped because apparently they didn't like the show, which is kind of funny. And then another group picked it up, but because of where I watched it, which I won't say where, but because of where I watched it, like apparently like the first group like tried to pick up a little bit, but it was just one episode, and then like it went back to the other group, and this was kind of the same situation with Super. I noticed. I mean, give or take certain, um, factors in regards to that. But I just find it kind of interesting how like seemingly, uh, Dragon Ball is apparently kind of tough for people to fan sub. Apparently, like I don't know, people get tired of it, or obviously in Super's case, we have official subs now, so they stopped it out of respect out of them. But in regards to the final chapters, it's like what it wasn't that bad, people. I mean, I'm at least glad that it got finished. It's at least not like Ring ni Kakiro to where we still have 2 seasons that are not subbed, or like Saint Seiya where we have English subs of the entire thing, but they're not perfect. But you now that I've actually watched all of Kai, I'm thinking I kind of want to complete my Dragon Ball watching experience even further, because actually I haven't seen all of the original Dragon Ball movies. I've only seen Curse of the Blood Rubies, and I actually have them all as well. I was actually planning this while and I'm talking like Sleeping in Devil's Castle, then Mystical Adventure, and then Path to Power. Which Path to Power, that's going to be an interesting one to talk about. I'm actually kind of looking forward to talking about that one, because I'm going to do sort of like the Saint Seiya movie thing that I did, where I'm going to do a review of each of them individually and stuff. But yeah, so look forward to that. I'm going to try and watch them all as I can. But yeah, I guess that's more or less it. I enjoyed it. And I would recommend it. Coming from me, that may not necessarily mean much because I love Dragon Ball Z to death, but yeah. Alrighty, this is Flames Around Nikki Tasuke signing out. See you later.